So let's talk a bit about AI observability and what it actually means. It's almost like the blind man and the elephant. Depending on who you talk to, it means still very different things. If you talk to a data scientist, it's very much about models, how they perform, individual models, how a model upgrade works. When you talk to people building applications, who I like to call AI native application developers, it's more how the end-to-end orchestration works, how individual user interactions work. Then if you talk to the SRE team, it just feels like any other service that they have to run, that they have to do capacity planning about, that they have to scale out and so forth. And then you talk to the business people who really care about how much money they spend on the service and what the ROI and customer satisfaction is. So then really defining what AI observability is about in general is still something that's very much evolving across the industry. And I think we need to kind of like define this model, taking all these individual participants into account. And especially if you're starting to build your own application, it really depends on what you kind of want to get out of it. I think there's some eternal truth there in that whatever application you build, you must figure out whether it's actually helpful to your users. Figuring out whether it provides the output that people need, stays within your, cost. Obviously, if you spend $5 to create value for $2 for your customer, that's not a great idea. On the SRE side, capacity planning, which is more related to token than CPU, that's maybe the only thing that's changing, but also planning ahead. Capacity planning becomes more important than in traditional cloud workloads because suddenly those workloads won't be available. Even if you have all the money in the world and you want to run your AI workloads in a certain region, it just might not work. For the application developer, it's really debugging these complex programs that they're writing, whether they're agentic, whether they're RAG-based. They are highly dynamic. A lot of things fit together. Models might not change all the time, but the input might change. New documents might make it into your vector database, and you need to debug and figure it out. Why in some cases they're working, and in other cases they're not working. And then there's obviously the people who actually build the models, who look at their training data, how a model performs with certain training data, look at performance quality, and so forth. So if you take out of the box models, you might not have to take care of this piece. But obviously all the other three might still be valid. If you're working with very simple interactions, which you will very soon realize you need to become more complex, the debugging might not be so much of your concern, but still everything else stays there. So ideally, what I recommend to people, like take all of those areas, see how much development effort you invest in there and how much you rely on out of the box, and then more or less derive your requirements from there. That's my recommendation, how to start with AI observability.